So when I first time took my exam, I thought, oh, I don't think this book did a really good job of helping me out. I feel just watching videos online all the time, I don't think that's helping.
Bonjour guys, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to interview James. James recently passed his FE electrical, and in this video, he's going to share with us his FE experience. James, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Great, it's my pleasure. Okay, so usually I interview a lot of students who took FE Civil. This is the first time I'm actually interviewing someone who took FE Electrical and Computer Science, right? That's the discipline.
Right.
I'm not very familiar with the whole discipline and the whole specifications, but I still wanted to actually do this interview because I've had so many students reach out to me and just asking like what kind of material to use. I feel like there are not much of resources out there that really help students prepare for this exam, and that's why I really wanted to really do this interview and dive into that, so this way you can share your experience and then just kind of help other people, like, you know, help them prepare better for their FE exam. But first, let's start off with you telling us a little bit about yourself. When did you graduate and what was your major?
So I graduated in 2018 from Florida Atlantic University with a bachelor's in electrical engineering.
And what kind of students were you in college?
Um, I like to say I was very studious and involved with my classmates. I would study with a group of friends, and we would usually help each other out if we get stuck on a problem or a topic.
Okay. And why did you decide to take the FE exam?
Oh, well, I thought it was just something for me to better myself and to hopefully take the PE and get my license one day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting because I know for a lot of civil students, we
hmm
have to take the FE exam before even some jobs. They wouldn't even look at your resume unless if you have the
hmm
FE exam. And I don't think that's necessarily true for electrical and mechanical. Some fields, they don't really require the FE exam. And
hmm
so that's why I'm a little curious. Why do you
Yeah.
want, to eventually take your PE? Is the field or the career path that you're taking requires the PE?
Right. So the thing is for electrical, if you want to get into like power systems in that field, like if you want to work in the utility section, you're gonna have to have your PE because you have to design circuits and transformers and all those things, and it's going to be out for the public, and you have to have your PE license in order for them to hire you or even to look at your resume. So I feel I might do that in the future, so I just want to do my PE now.
I see. That's great. So, which makes sense because so you might end up in design, and that's the
Mm-hmm.
path you want to get to. And to do the design, you need the PE, which is same for civil and mechanical, because to be able to design and stamp the plans, you have to have your PE. Now, what do you work right now? Like, what kind of position do you have?
Yeah, I actually work right now for General Electric, and I do design transformers, but I don't. But my boss, he has a PE license. But I feel if one day I'm to go into the path of like management, like himself, I'm gonna have to get a PE also.
I see. That's great. And it's really awesome because you're working under PE. So this way it's going to help you get your PE license as well, because you're going to need someone to sign off the paperwork and the requirements for the PE. That's great.
Exactly.
Um, awesome. Okay. Now let's jumping into scheduling. How many months before the FE exam did you begin studying?
I um I studied in March of this year till June, so that's about 4 months. And I studied from 9 p.m. to almost 2 a.m. in the morning sometimes. And that's about roughly 40 hours I think I study. Like every week. About yeah.
Wow. I have to say that's a lot. Okay. So
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your work schedule. So when do you start work and when do you get home?
Well, I worked um at 8 a.m. and I get up around 5, and when I get home, I want to spend time with my family. So that's why I don't study till like 5 to 8 at night. So I usually study a little bit later than everyone else.
Wow. So you start studying at 9 and then till 2 a.m. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Or maybe sometimes not exactly 2 a.m. Maybe sometimes at midnight or till 1 a.m. I just try to get enough. I just want to put enough hours into my study.
I see. And what time do you usually wake up?
I wake up around like 6:30 ish.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
insane. So you don't get your full eight, you didn't get your full 8 hours of
no,
sleep for 4 months. And then I'm assuming right after you took your exam, you just slept for like 2 days.
pretty
Um,
much. Yeah.
now, did you increase your studying time during the weekend?
Yes, I usually wake up around like 7 in the morning, and I study till like 9. So I just get like maybe 2 or 3 more extra hours of studying. Yeah, because I also have a baby, so I have to take care of him also. So
Wow, you're very determined to like get your FE exam.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. But that is very intense. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
did you increase that time as the exam got closer?
Um, just a little though.
Okay.
Just not a lot. Maybe yeah, because I think I can't even handle it if I increase more hours of studying.
I was
Yeah.
thinking the same thing. I'm like, you can increase the time. You already like max out all the time you had. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Pretty
Okay.
much.
Now let's talk about the material. What
Oh,
material did you use to prepare for your exam?
right. So the first time I took the exam, I used a book from Ashka from this person,
Okay.
and the and I when I used this book, I thought, oh, it's kind of the concepts were okay. It was kind of basic. So when I first time took my exam, I thought, oh, I don't think this book did a really good job of helping me out.
I see.
So the second time I use your FE electrical engineering course. It really helped me out with the exam. And I also use this one by Lindenberg for electrical and computer practice problems. It
Okay.
really helped me out.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
the questions were a lot tougher and more difficult, but I felt it better prepare me for this second time round of the exam.
Yeah. Okay. Now, when did you take your FE exam the first time?
I took it in, let me think, May of 2019.
Okay. Okay. And so, in the second round, you only used the Linter book, the practice, which is just practice problem. So you didn't even get the review manual. So you just got the practice problem by Linter book, and then you got also the. I do have the course FE Bytes Electrical, but it only covers
Mm-hmm.
like math, probability and statistics, engineering, econ, and ethics, I think. But for the rest of the material, which is only like electrical and computer, you just
Right,
use
right.
the book.
Oh wait, oh yeah, and I also have this book
Okay.
by Bornstein, I think,
Okay.
and it covers the introductory circuit analysis. It also helped me to better myself in solving circuit problems. That really helped because the exam had a lot of circuit problems, and I really recommend you you really focus on your circuit analysis. Yeah.
Great. Okay, awesome. Okay, so this is the only three materials you used for your second
Hmm.
round. Did you use any like of your notes from college or maybe Google, YouTube? Did you ever use those
Oh
tools?
yeah, I
Okay.
yeah I use some Google and YouTube videos, and I feel um like only study the topic uh, of um of that type of material for each day, because I feel watching the whole lecture itself, it won't really help you. So just going into one specific topic a day on YouTube is a lot better.
Yeah. Okay, great. And did you feel like your undergrad classes prepared you well for the FE exam?
Um, I, I, I would say yes.
Okay.
My professors did a good job of teaching all the material that I needed.
Okay. Now, the FE exam for electrical, it combines electrical and computer science. Is that how it is like undergrad? Is that how it was your classes?
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Yeah,
Okay, I see.
yeah.
Okay. It's just because I'm not really familiar with the majors, so that's why. Now, were there any sections on the FE exam that was not covered by any of your school classes?
Um, yes, actually, engineering, economics, mechanical, and thermal was not covered in my program. So,
Okay.
so
And
yeah,
so how did you study for those topics?
I, I try to study them. I try to go on YouTube and when I Google, but for some reason, those questions that I did not I don't really understand those concepts because I never really learned them. So I thought, oh, it's just too much for me. I thought maybe I just skip them and just focus on the areas that I do know and have seen before.
I
But
see.
I do remember I've seen those type of questions about maybe three thermal questions on the exam that I had like no idea how to do those.
Yeah, you just guessed them.
Yeah, I had to
Yeah.
guess them.
Sometimes you just have to pick up your battles. You know the
Hmm.
rest really well, so sometimes you're just gonna have to skip one or two topics. Well, it depends, especially if they have like very low questions. You're just gonna get three of them
Hmm.
or four, then maybe just guess them and move on. Yeah. Especially because like I feel like thermal concepts, like thermodynamics, is very different from electrical and computer, and it's just the way we think is going to be different than how you guys think. And so I think that's why it's hard to grasp that topic if you were not taught that before. So if you weren't, exposed to it in college, it's gonna be hard for you to learn it on your own. And I'm actually a little surprised they have that on the specifications for electrical and computer.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, actually, I know I think when in July 1st of this year, when they have to change the formatting
Mm,
of the FE exam, I've seen, well, I saw that they took all those questions actually like thermal and mechanical because they probably know that students did not study those type of topics in their program.
yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. I think it's great that they kind of removed it. Okay,
Mhm.
now let's discuss a little bit of your study techniques. Are there any study habits that you found not to be effective?
Yeah, I feel just watching videos online all the time, I don't think that's helping. I think you really have to focus on answering questions and really know what you're doing. At first, I would watch like a whole full lectures on a specific topic like power systems, and I watch like days on end just on power systems, and I thought it's just too much information for me. So
Mhm.
I changed my method by doing questions on a specific topic. For example, just single phase and three phase from power systems for for a few days, and then move on to a new topic. Yeah.
I see. Okay, great. And did you make any changes to your study habits or materials between the times you failed the exam versus the times you passed?
Um, I think I will pretty much study for the first test the way I did for the second one. Yeah, I felt that the first test I studied the wrong material. I used the wrong book. The
Mhm.
second time I think I chose the right book. So I think I would have stayed the same method.
Yeah, that's great. So you change a little bit your study material, and then
Hmm.
also you change your study habits. So instead of just trying to learn so much information at once, you broke it down in small little sections, and you just kind of give your brain time to process the information you just learned. And these changes has helped you pass. And I think that's great because like if you keep doing the same thing, you can expect the same different result, right? So if you want to pass your FE exam, you're going to have to change some of your study techniques or your study material to be able to pass the second or third time. And I think that's great that you sharing this with us, because a lot of times the students don't really necessarily change their study habits or study material, and they keep doing the same thing, and they're like, why am I failing? Why I can't pass? And I think it's important to step back and, you know, take a look at the big picture and then make some changes. Okay. Now, I was hoping we could explore the day before you took your FE exam. Were you feeling ready?
I I felt ready. I'm pretty much ready. Yeah, I was a bit nervous, but I felt I was more ready this time than the first time taking it.
I see.
First time taking the exam.
Okay. And did you get enough sleep the night before? Or did you
No,
study till 2 a.m.?
not this time though. Actually,
Wow.
well, I slept about 4 hours of sleep. Actually,
Wow.
yeah, yeah, I finished study at 11 p.m. this time, and I thought, oh, maybe I can wake up at 6 in the morning or at least 7 to get that full 8 hours of sleep you were talking about.
Uh-huh.
But for some reason, my body just woke up at 3, and I'm like, okay, can I go back to sleep now? So I just lay on the bed thinking, oh, I have to get some sleep for this exam, but I didn't. I just couldn't do it. So I just stayed there for 3 more hours. I woke, I just left the house at 6, and I just drove myself over to the place and took the test.
Wow. So you just couldn't sleep. You were a little
Mhm.
stressed or something.
I I think I was stressed. Like,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Now let's dive into the day of the exam. How are you feeling during the exam?
During the exam, when I got in front of the computer, I was relaxed for some reason.
Hmm.
I felt I was ready this time, so I scanned through the first 10 questions in the first part of the exam, and it looked pretty easy to me. So I thought to myself, I think I might have a shot to in passing this exam. Yeah.
That's great. And the first questions you had was math, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So you started solving problems in math. You felt like you knew those problems. You started
Mhm.
to gain confidence, which helped you to keep going and, you know,
Exactly.
and finish the exam strong. That's awesome.
Mhm.
Now, did
Yeah.
you track your time during the exam?
Yeah. Actually, I will occasionally look down at the clock and to see how much time I had left, and I gave myself about 2 minutes. If I didn't know a question, I would flag it, and then I would come back to it later to solve those unanswered questions.
Okay. And so how much time did you spend on the first half versus the second half?
I I spent about 2.5 hours on the first half of the exam and about 2 hours on the last half.
Okay.
The first half was a lot easier than the second half of the test, but I wanted to answer all the questions, so I spent most of my time in the first half of the exam.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that actually applies to most FE disciplines. The morning session usually is easier, and it's important to actually, that's where you should gain most points, right? Because the
Mhm.
afternoon is harder, so you have more chances to mess up and not get the right answer. So it's better to kind of focus on the morning, get as many points as you can, and then you finish the morning strong, which again gives you the confidence to keep going and to finish the exam. Yeah, I think that's great. Now, how many questions did you have to guess, and do you have a guessing strategy?
Yes. So in the morning session, I guessed about maybe 3 to 4 questions, and in the afternoon section, I guess about like 20 questions.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
wow, that's cool. And you still passed. So you guessed about 24 total and you still passed your FE exam. That's great.
hmm
Did you have a guessing strategy? Did you pick a letter or
I think I chose B a lot
okay.
as my guessing questions because I remember I watched some of your other videos and those students were saying they chose like C or B, so I thought maybe I should try B for some reason, and
Okay.
I guess it worked out for me.
Yeah, I think it works out when you pick like the same letter and you just kind of guess out each time you're not sure. maybe after doing the educated guess. Like if even after doing the educated guess, you still have no idea what to do, I think picking like one letter and sticking to it, you might have higher chances to get it right or something like that. Now, are there any areas that were particularly difficult that you wish you would have studied more?
I wish I've studied more in the electromagnetic section because in that section there was a lot of conceptual problems. So yeah.
I see. So even for you guys, electrical, you also get like a lot of conceptual questions as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have how did you study for those questions?
For those questions, I would usually if I get stuck, I would look up in a book, like in the electromagnetic session book, and I would really try to read and understand those questions and do more problems in those areas. I remember it was an electromagnetic session, and the concept itself, it wasn't that difficult for me because I felt you just have to take an equation and then you have to say, okay, they say increase the radius by 4 times, what will happen to the electric static field? Then you say, okay, well, I can maybe put in some random numbers into the equation and see how the equation will behave. Will it go? I mean, will it increase or will it decrease? So you have to think of it that way because you're not really putting numbers. It's not a plug and chug question. You really have to understand the concept itself. And I drew a lot of I drew a lot of was it diagrams and so I can picture what would happen if this or that would happen.
That's great. So
Yeah.
when you get a conceptual question, you would try to draw free body diagram just to kind of see what's going on and what's happening to the system. And in addition, like if there's any equations you can plug in, it's almost like taking a conceptual question and converting it mathematically and put it into like equations to see how like the numbers would behave. And then you would try to get an answer from that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that was a method I did when I was taking the FE exam.
Okay, great. That's awesome. And do you feel like that method actually helped you tackle some of the conceptual questions?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for some of them, I think I got them right, but for some other questions, I'm like I'm not getting the right answer, so I just have to guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of tough.
Yeah. Yeah, I think some of the questions on the FE exam is just like, whoa, you're just gonna have to guess it and just move on. Like you can't get them all. So, and that's okay, right?
Yeah.
Now, are there any concepts or topics that stuck out to you?
Yes, for me, it was especially in linear systems, signal processing, and control systems. In those fields, particularly in feedback block diagrams, Bode plots, and convolution. For me, I might have gotten about 10 questions in those areas. And when I saw those questions, I felt pretty lucky because I studied those topics in depth. So I thought, oh, that's good. And there were a lot of circuit problems like Thevenin and Norton circuits and power system questions, averaged about 5 to 6 questions
Okay.
in the exam.
Great. Awesome. And are there any topics that were easier than you expected?
Yes, especially in math, statistics, and economics, they were pretty easy. And there were a lot of in the math section. There has a general equation for a circle, and I thought, oh, this is a lot easier than I thought it would be. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. I think also the FE civil students, we get that question a lot. I think it's just a common question in general for the FE exam. Yeah. Okay. Now, lastly, I was hoping we could talk about your life after passing the exam. Did passing the FE impact your professional life?
No, because my job does not require the FE or the PE.
Yeah. But it's gonna probably like impact your life after you take the PE. That's really yeah. Okay. And do you feel any different now that you passed your FE?
Yeah, I thought there was a huge amount of stress that removed for me. So I get to spend free time doing things I enjoy, like and learning new things.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so now that you got your FE, and we did talk about the PE, that you're planning to take the PE, do you have a date in mind when you're going to take your PE?
I took my PE in 4 years from now.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's my state requirements. I have to wait till 4 years after you take your FE, so you can take your PE.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I guess now you can forget about testing and then just enjoy life for 4 years, and then you can think about the PE when time comes. Okay.
Yeah.
And so now, do you have any closing remarks for engineers who are trying to pass their FE exam?
Have your material study. I mean, have your study materials ready before you study. Don't give up, and always try to just do your best on the test.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you, James, for being here with us today, and thank you for sharing your FE experience with us.
Thank you, Kenza, for having me.
So James has shared some amazing tips with us today, and I really hope it helps you with your FE preparation. Now, if you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. If you guys like this video, please give me a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe for new videos. Thank you guys for watching. Good luck with your studying, and I will see you soon. À la prochaine.